So I was in South Africa, which is considered the most Western of all the African countries. I mean, it was by far and away the most technologically advanced until Nelson Mandela came to power. And I'm being very sensitive here about racial issues here. Uh, as you know, South Africa was the tip of the spear on apartheid, and and certainly I'm not a friend of apartheid, but it's important to understand. You know, Paul Harvey. Many of our listeners may remember the great American commentator, news commentator Paul Harvey, always said civilization at its most accelerated pace is agonizingly gradual, and so here, you know, so South Africa was really dominated by the Dutch, and then the British. They do speak English there, along with the Afrikaans, um, and so it enjoyed incredible westernization as far as infrastructure, utilities, power, railroads, highways, those kinds of things. It's a wonderful country. You know, lots of rain. It does fluctuate from, you know, Mediterranean climate, which is 6 months dry, 6 month wet, all the way to tropics. You know, I picked oranges and bananas outside my room. You know, it was wonderful. I was on 3 different farms doing 3 2-day master classes, and so I was in Cape Town, and then East London, and then about an hour north of Johannesburg. So I was moving from Mediterranean up into subtropical by the time I got up into Johannesburg, north of Johannesburg, which is not that far from Zimbabwe, and I was actually, you know, within, I don't know what, 100 miles of the official edge of the Serengeti. So as on that last place, the land, it was just flat as a pancake, for just I mean, for it's seemingly hundreds of miles. You just couldn't believe the lack of terrain change. So the country has had, where I'm going here with this is, the country has been dominated by Western influence for a long time. Then when Nelson Mandela finally came back to power, and the African National Congress took over, and basically threw the whites out, and the natives, the Africans, took over. What's happened since is a complete collapse of the country's infrastructure. The roads are so ill maintained that as you drive along, you'll find people just out with rakes and shovels and hose trying to keep the roads passable, and they have a little tin can and they hold it up as you drive by to put donations in, to pay for them, you know, trying to keep the road passable. The utility, the power system is 40% below need. So every day they're rolling blackouts anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. They do tell you when they're going to cut the power. So I was doing my PowerPoint, and, you know, boom, suddenly the power goes and you're out of business. You know,
wait. You were doing a PowerPoint?
Yeah.
I thought you were Mr. No PowerPoint.
Oh, well, it's just slides. I don't do PowerPoints, but it's on a PowerPoint platform. I was doing my slides of the farm. You know, it's a virtual. Yeah, I used to do it on a Kodak carousel, you know, slide projector, right? And so, you know, we put these slides on a PowerPoint platform. But there's no railroads now. The railroad tracks are being torn up by people and salvaged for steel. They go into scrap metal yard. All the signposts, everything are being taken. Wow. The corruption and the nepotism is just unbelievable. But you know, it's such a wealthy country from resources. I mean, how can you not how can you be hungry in a place that grows pineapple and oranges and bananas in your yard, you know? And so they get good rain. It's always warm. I mean, it never freezes, never frosts. So you can lay water pipe on top of the ground. You know, you don't have to bury it. You do have to keep the baboons from coming out and you know, playing with it. But you know, it's a land of tremendous resource. But it is with the current situation, it is really the infrastructure is just imploding in on itself. And so what's happened now is what you have this interesting thing where because it was dominated by the West, you have these massive corporate farms. There is I asked because I met with a lot of farmers, and basically you cannot get non-GMO feed in the whole country.
Wow.
It has to be imported. Well, that makes it extremely expensive. And so they said there was not a single mill. I mean, here in the U.S., we can get GMO free, you know, livestock feeds for, you know, chickens and pigs and stuff. We can get GMO free all over the country pretty much. I mean, some places it's harder than others, but it's very available. We have a very active supply into that market. There, the few livestock producers who care about it, it's not available. So that becomes a real issue for people that want to be, you know, organic or, you know, want to do cleaner things. So they have you know, massive canola, soybeans, and corn, monocultures. So what happens is in a situation like that, you don't have the mid-level farm like in the U.S. Like our farm. Our farm would be, you know, is a mid-level farm. What you have are massive large acreage. Well, for example, one of the guys that attended one of my seminars is the manager of you ready for this? A 20,000 acre sugarcane operation.
Wow.
And he comes to hear me, you know, so, you know, we had a great discussion, but the ecological hurdles. How do you take a 20,000 acre sugarcane operation? And sugarcane is really hard on the land. It's almost like tobacco. It's really hard on the land, and so how do you take a 20,000 acre sugarcane operation and think of all the specific infrastructure and the crushing and the processing and the special delivery trucks and the harvesting, all that special infrastructure, and make a change? You know, it's really difficult. Of course, he was the manager. He didn't own the place.
But can you do that? I mean, you posed the question of how do you do that? Is it possible?
Sure, you can. I've actually helped a guy in Barbados do that. He's converted his sugarcane operation to pastured poultry, beef, pork, all that stuff. And he's the only guy in Barbados doing it. And so marketing has been great because, you know, he's the only game in town. Okay,
He's a monopoly.
Yeah, he is. But so yes, it absolutely can be done. But you have to obviously have a whole different, you know, a different plan.